Most bets were done in the form of nickels and dimes. His customers were mostly poor people who were throwing their coins into the proverbial fountain, hoping to come out with a few extra dollars. Which is funny because he was poor too. His day job was working in a factory where they made tennis balls, and on nights and weekends, he bartended and waited tables at our hometown Italian restaurant. On Saturday mornings, we would go around and pick up money. Then he would go to the bank, deposit the loot into a safety deposit box, and then he'd take me and my sister for ice cream. At the time, I had no idea what was going on, but I knew that Saturday mornings were fun and the people we visited often had treats for us. Do you remember the line from Goodfellas where Karen says something to the effect of, "Other men were sitting around every day waiting for handouts from their bosses at the end of the month. Mobsters were different. They went out every day and came back with money." It was like that, but without the violence and the huge stacks of cash. All I know is that my grandfather was a hustler. Any job, any opportunity to make money, any work hours, requests, side gigs were always met with a resounding yes. My earliest memories from childhood include picking up cash and playing cards for money. We played scat for nickels, which graduated to blackjack and poker. Some days, I would leave the games with bags full of nickels and dimes. Other days, I'd leave with empty pockets. Either way, the excitement of the game held my attention, and as I got older, I craved higher and higher stakes. I am a gambler to this day. Love the action of the casino. Love the win. Don't mind the loss. I am also a gambler in life, willing to take a chance, throw caution to the wind, bet on myself and others. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you lose. I find that the most successful people do not focus on money. Sure, that's ultimately the end goal for many people, but for most entrepreneurs, me included, it is the thrill of the game. The people willing to gamble, quit their jobs to do something new, take a job that is beyond their current capabilities, or start a business with no idea of how they will pay the mortgage, often become the most successful people. They are the hustlers. They trade in passion, and sometimes they beat the house. For my grandfather, all I know is that his efforts allowed them to pay for cars in cash. Once he bought my grandma a fur coat. No one we knew had a fur coat. We had the extras that most people in our neighborhood did not, and that, come Christmas time, presents for me and my sister were stacked up to the ceiling when most of our friends got an apple in their stockings and maybe a bike or baseball bat. By no means am I suggesting you take your life savings and put it all on red. I am suggesting that taking a chance in life, in work, in relationships often leads to the greatest wins of all. Don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Chapter 2. What's in a Name? My last name is Storey. The name of my business is Storyline Resumes. It was like the stars, moon, and sun aligned when I married my husband and took his name. What's the likelihood that my actual last name would reflect what I turned out to do for a living? I tell people we came up with the name of my business over a cigarette, me, and a beer, my husband. After the kiddos were put to bed, we'd venture out onto the tiny front porch of our first house and hang out, chat, smoke, drink, and dream. I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I was not interested in writing books. Ironic, I know. Couldn't make money writing business papers, and while I love all kinds of literature, I am no poet. Since I had a background in human resources, I knew what hiring managers were looking for, and resumes seemed to be a thing. Everyone needs a resume, right? So I started off writing for family and friends. Then they would send their friends to me, and on and on and on, until one day I said, "Hey, I think I can make this a full-time business." Talking about it now, it seems like it was simple. I can assure you that it was not. We were not in a place financially for me to start a business. I still had to have a job, bring home the bacon.